Have you ever noticed that sometimes, just when you think a woman has moved on, her actions start pulling you back in? At first, you're convinced it's over. She walked away. She made her choice. But then little signals creep in. Messages that don't make sense. Subtle looks that feel familiar. Energy that stirs up old emotions. Most men miss it. They either chase too soon or ignore it altogether. But here's the truth. When a woman secretly wants you back, she rarely says it directly. Instead, she reveals it through her behavior, through the way she responds, through the things she can't quite hide. And if you know how to spot these signals, you'll never confuse her mixed emotions again. In this video, I'm going to break down the hidden signs that she's not done with you. Because once you recognize them, you'll understand whether she's really letting go or quietly hoping you'll return. She creates accidental encounters. 1. She creates accidental encounters that aren't accidental at all. Most men completely overlook this one because they assume life is full of coincidences. But when a woman secretly wants you back, she doesn't come knocking on your door saying, "I miss you." No, she engineers opportunities to cross paths with you without ever admitting that's what she's doing. She'll suddenly bump into you at the same cafe you always go to. Or you'll notice she's at the same events she never cared about before. Maybe she starts hanging out with mutual friends again, even the ones she rarely bothered with when you were together. On the surface, it looks like coincidence. Underneath, it's strategy. Here's what most men don't understand. Women are far more subtle about re-entry than men are. When she wants you back, she won't usually make a grand gesture. Instead, she creates situations where seeing you feels natural, where the environment gives her an excuse. Why? Because if she came straight out and admitted she missed you, she'd be risking rejection. But if you bump into each other by chance, she has cover. She can test your reaction safely. Does he smile? Does he look uncomfortable? Does he still care? Every accidental meeting is her way of taking your emotional temperature. Think about it. If she truly wanted nothing to do with you, she'd avoid the places she knows you'll be. She wouldn't check in with your circle. She wouldn't put herself in your line of sight. So if she keeps showing up where you are, that's not an accident. That's intention. And here's the key. It's not about location. It's about consistency. One random encounter could be coincidence, but 2, 3, 4, that's a pattern, and patterns don't lie. The deeper psychology here is that women use these encounters as a low-risk signal. If you respond positively, she can escalate, maybe starting a light conversation, maybe dropping a casual question about your life. If you react coldly, she can retreat without embarrassment, because after all, it was just chance. It's a built-in safety net. But for you, the man who understands this, it's an unmistakable clue. She's circling back, hoping the door is still open. So, next time you find yourself running into her more than makes sense, don't dismiss it as fate or coincidence. Understand it for what it really is. Her way of saying without words, "I'm not ready to let you go." She finds excuses to reignite conversations. Go. 2. She finds excuses to reignite conversations. Here's something most men completely misunderstand. When a woman wants you back, she rarely begins with, "I miss you. Can we talk?" That's too direct, too vulnerable. Instead, she takes the back door into communication. Suddenly, she's messaging you about something small, almost trivial. Maybe she asks if you still have that book she lent you months ago. Maybe she remembers some random show you both used to laugh about and sends a meme. Or maybe she brings up a detail that doesn't even matter, like, "Hey, do you remember the name of that restaurant we went to once?" On the surface, it's casual, but underneath, it's intentional. This is her way of bridging the silence without making it look like she's desperate. Think about it. If she truly wanted nothing to do with you, she wouldn't risk opening any door. She wouldn't be reaching out at all. But when she's tossing little excuses your way, she's testing. She wants to see how open you are, whether you'll welcome the connection or shut it down. And here's the part most men miss. The excuse itself doesn't matter. What matters is that she's breaking her own silence. Notice the timing. These messages usually don't come when you're fresh out of the breakup. They come after some distance, when she's had time to reflect and realize the emptiness is louder than her pride. She won't say, "I can't stop thinking about you." She'll say, "Do you remember the password to that Netflix account?" But the truth is, she's not after the password. She's after your attention. And pay attention to how she keeps the thread alive. She won't just drop one question and vanish. She'll stretch it out. Add small comments. Laugh at things that don't really need laughter. That's not efficiency. That's intimacy in disguise. She doesn't want the conversation to end, because the conversation is her safe way of being near you again. So here's the bottom line. When she's looking for any excuse to talk, it's not about the excuse. It's about the door. She's knocking gently, hoping you'll open it wide enough for her to step back in. And if you catch this, you'll understand. She brings up shared memories at random times, contacting you for information. She's contacting you for connection. 3. She brings up shared memories at random times. One of the clearest signals that a woman wants you back is when she starts reviving the past. Not in a heavy, bitter way, but in a subtle, almost playful way. She'll drop little references to things only the two of you shared. Maybe she mentions that road trip where you both got lost but laughed the whole time. Maybe she casually brings up the song that became your song, or reminds you of that inside joke you had about the waiter who spilled water on her. On the surface, it might look like she's reminiscing just for fun, but underneath, it's her way of pulling you back into the emotional frame where you both once felt close. Here's what most men don't realize. Memories are not neutral. When she brings up something specific, she's not just talking about the event, she's reigniting the feelings attached to it. If she truly wanted to move on, she'd avoid those conversations. She wouldn't stir up old emotions, because doing so would only make it harder for her to detach. But when she wants you back, those memories are her way of testing whether you still feel the warmth, the bond, the familiarity. Notice how she frames these memories. It's never in a way that highlights the breakup or the pain. It's always the light, happy moments, the parts that made the relationship special. She's reminding you, not so subtly, that what you had wasn't all arguments and distance. It was laughter, closeness, and comfort. It's her way of saying, "Remember what we were?" without actually putting herself in the vulnerable position of asking, "Do you miss me too?" And pay close attention to when she brings them up. It's often at random times, moments where the memory doesn't really fit the flow of the conversation. That's the giveaway. If she's talking about food and suddenly recalls how you cooked together, or you're talking about work and she slips in a line about how you used to calm her down before interviews, that's not random, that's deliberate. Bottom line, when she digs up the highlights of your shared story, she's not just reminiscing. She's anchoring you emotionally to the bond you once had. It's her way of planting the seed. She shows signs of jealousy. If it felt that good before, maybe it can feel that good again. 4. She shows signs of jealousy without admitting it. This is one of the strongest and yet most misunderstood signals. When a woman wants you back, she won't usually come out and say, "I don't like seeing you with someone else." That would expose her feelings too clearly. Instead, she shows her jealousy in indirect ways, tiny reactions, offhand comments, or sudden changes in her energy. Maybe she asks casually if you're talking to anyone new, trying to sound neutral, but her tone gives away more than her words. Maybe she reacts a little too strongly when you mention another woman's name, even if it's innocent. Or maybe she jokes about you moving on fast while her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes. On the surface, it looks like small talk. Underneath, it's her heart revealing she still sees you as hers. Here's what men often miss. Jealousy isn't just about competition. It's about investment. If she truly had no desire to come back, she wouldn't care who you're with. She wouldn't ask questions, wouldn't probe, wouldn't even flinch. Indifference is the true opposite of love, not anger or jealousy. So, when she shows these subtle flashes of possessiveness, it's her way of signaling, "I'm not done with you yet." Watch how she tries to disguise it. She might laugh it off, make it sound playful, or frame it like she's just curious. But look at her body language. Does she tense up? Does her voice drop slightly? Does she suddenly change the subject after asking? Those are tells. She doesn't want to give herself away, but she can't help it. The emotional attachment leaks through. And notice this. Her jealousy often comes at moments when you're not even trying to provoke it. You could be talking about a coworker, a friend, or a new hobby group, and suddenly she zeroes in on the female names, or the possibility that you're spending time with someone new. It's not logical, it's emotional, and emotions don't lie. The deeper psychology here is that jealousy is a form of territory check. She's trying to figure out whether she still has a place in your life, whether she still matters enough to compete. By watching your response, she gauges if the door is open or if she's losing her chance. So, the next time you notice her subtly bristling at the mention of another woman, don't dismiss it as random moodiness. She pays attention to the smallest details of you. Understand it for what it really is, her unspoken way of saying, "I still want you," even if I'm not ready to admit it out loud. 5. She pays attention to the smallest details about you. When a woman wants you back, she doesn't just check in with the big questions, like, "How have you been?" Instead, she zooms in on the smallest details about your life, the kind that most people overlook. Maybe she notices you got a new haircut and makes a comment before anyone else. Maybe she remembers that you had an important meeting last week and asks how it went. Or maybe she casually mentions that she saw your favorite band was touring and wonders if you got tickets. On the surface, these moments seem small, but underneath they're powerful, signs of lingering care and investment. Here's the truth. People don't track details about someone they're finished with. Indifference wipes away curiosity. But when she's watching closely, when she remembers the little things you mentioned in passing, it means her attention is still anchored to you. She hasn't detached. She's actively tuning in. And this isn't just about memory, it's about effort. She could let those details slip by, but instead, she chooses to bring them up because it's her way of saying, "I still care about what happens in your world." Notice how she weaves it into conversation. It's rarely direct. She won't text, "I'm still thinking about you every day." But she might say, "Did you ever finish that project you were stressed about?" Or, "Hey, you always loved that coffee place. Have you tried their new menu?" It's casual enough to hide her intentions, but specific enough to prove she's paying attention. And the more consistent these small observations become, the clearer the signal. The psychology behind this is simple. Details create intimacy. By showing she still remembers, she's subtly rebuilding that bond, piece by piece. It's her way of reminding you that she gets you in a way others might not. And deep down, she hopes you'll notice the contrast. That while other people only skim the surface, she's the one who knows your quirks, your preferences, milestones. Think about it. If she truly wanted nothing to do with you, why would she bother remembering the date of your exam, or the way you take your coffee, or the fact that your favorite movie is being re-released? She wouldn't. But when she does, it's because those details aren't just facts to her. They're anchors of connection. So when she starts highlighting the small things again, don't brush it off as friendliness. She finds ways to stay connected through mutual friends. Understand it for what it really is. Her way of saying, "I still see you. I still know you. And I still want to be part of your life." 6. She finds ways to stay connected through mutual friends. One of the most overlooked signs that a woman wants you back is when she starts weaving herself back into your social circle, especially through mutual friends. Pay attention here because this is rarely random. If she's reaching out to your buddies, suddenly showing up at group hangouts, or even asking subtle questions about you through someone else, it's not just casual curiosity, it's strategy. She may not feel ready to step directly into your world again, but she knows she can stay close by keeping her presence alive through the people you both know. Think about how this usually plays out. A friend casually mentions, "Oh, I ran into her the other day and she was asking how you've been." Or maybe you notice she's suddenly more active in group chats she used to ignore, dropping name in the mix. Sometimes she'll even ask your mutual friend to invite her to the same events you're going to, under the excuse of just wanting to catch up. But make no mistake, this is a calculated move. She wants to remain in your orbit, even if it's not a direct line. Here's the psychology behind it. Staying connected through friends gives her two advantages. First, it lowers the risk of rejection. Instead of putting herself in a position where you could directly turn her away, she can gauge how you feel through the friend network. If she hears you've been asking about her, it reassures her. If she hears you're cold or distant, she can pull back without losing face. Second, it keeps her relevant by making sure her name, her presence, her energy is still floating around in your social world. She's ensuring you don't forget her. Most men miss this because they see it as coincidence. They think, well, of course she's around. Our circles overlap. But the key is in the timing. If she avoided these friends after the breakup, but now she's back, if she had no interest in those group activities before, but suddenly cares, that's not chance. That's a message. She's reinserting herself into the spaces you occupy, hoping you'll notice and maybe even reach out. So when you see her gravitating back into she opens up about her personal struggles. Again, circle. Understand what it really means. She's not just keeping up with friends, she's keeping up with you. And every time she does it, she's quietly asking the question, is there still room for me in your life? 7. She opens up about her personal struggles again. Here's one of the most telling signals that a woman secretly wants you back. She begins letting you in on her private world again. Think about it. After a breakup, most women build walls. They keep conversations light, polite, or strictly surface level because vulnerability feels dangerous. But when she starts confiding in you about her stresses, her fears, or even her daily frustrations, that's not random. That's her way of rebuilding emotional intimacy. She's saying without words, I still trust you with the parts of me I don't show to everyone else. Notice how it starts small. She might casually mention that work has been overwhelming or that she's been feeling anxious about something. At first, it may sound like normal venting, but if she continues to share, especially with consistency, it's more than that. It's a signal that she wants you back in the role you once held. The person who understood her, supported her, and knew her beyond the mask she shows the world. Here's the psychology. Opening up isn't just about unloading problems. It's about connection. When she lets you see her struggles, she's testing whether the bond is still alive. Will you listen the way you used to? Will you give her the comfort she remembers? If she didn't care about reconnecting, she'd keep those things to herself or share them with someone else. By choosing you, she's showing that she still values your presence as more than just a casual acquaintance. And watch the type of struggles she shares. They're often the ones that made her lean on you before. If she used to tell you about her family, drama, her insecurities, or her stress at school or work, and suddenly she's doing it again, that's not a coincidence. She's recreating the dynamic you both had when things were good. It's her way of saying, I miss what it felt like to have you in my corner. Most men miss this because they interpret it as her just needing someone to talk to. But ask yourself, why you? Why now? Out of all the people in her life, she chose to reopen that vulnerable door with you. That's not convenience, that's intention. So, the next time she starts sharing the unfiltered side of her world again, don't underestimate it. That's not just outro conversation. That's intimacy returning. And whether she admits it or not, it's her way of showing that she doesn't just want someone to hear her struggles. She wants you back in the role of the man who makes her feel safe enough to share them. When a woman wants you back, she rarely says it directly. Instead, she reveals it through subtle patterns, accidental encounters, excuses to talk, shared memories, hidden jealousy, attention to details, staying close through friends, and opening up about her struggles. These are not random behaviors. They're signals of emotional investment resurfacing. The key is not to jump at the first sign, but to recognize the cluster, the consistency. If you pay attention, you'll see she's not just reaching for your presence, she's reaching for the connection you once had. And that's her quiet way of saying, I'm not done.